Hi, welcome to Formarte English Academy. We're going to start today with unit number three of our B2 level. Okay, so turn right away into your booklets, and I want for you to go to unit number three. And over there, um, we can see here that the name of the unit for today is Going Places. Uh, I'm going to introduce something that is very, very important, and it's our speaking part number two. We have already been practicing part number one, where first of all, remember that in the speaking test in Cambridge, is not talking to a computer or nothing like that. It will be just a person. You're going to be a face to face with somebody just asking you some questions. And on the back of that person, there's going to be somebody just checking your answers. And also remember that you will be doing your test with another person. So it's in pairs. But let me explain to you how part number two works, because sometimes we might get a little bit confused with this part. Okay, first of all, they will show you this in B2, they will show you two different pictures. So they will first of all tell you to compare those photos. Sometimes we tend to describe, and we need to be very careful on that, because if we describe, they will penalize us because it tells us you need to compare. So be careful on that. If you find yourself describing, then you can say, in contrast, I see so and so on. Okay. So, for example, if you're comparing two different cities, so you can say, well, I think that, well, this city is dirtier than this one. This city is more crowded than the other one. And you can also use, remember, you can say, adjective as adjective, right? So if you want to, if both of the cities maybe are crowded, you can say, well, the first city is as crowded as the other one. You can also use that. Of course, comparisons, uh, because that's what they want. But if you find yourself describing, you can say, well, yes, I see that this city is dirty, it's crowded, there's a lot of cars, and so, I mean, you can see different things there. And you can say, well, in contrast, in the other city, I see this and this and this and so on. Okay, so that can help you again, if you find yourself describing, say in contrast, because what they want is for you to compare. Okay, then it's going to be a question that you need to answer. So in 1 minute, that's in 1 minute, you need to try to compare and answer the question that they are asking. So we have some examples here. And if you can turn on again to your booklet, that will be on page 22. And you can find here the example. It says, in speaking part two, each candidate is given a pair of photos to talk about on their own. The task will involve comparing the two photos rather than just describing each one, what I was telling you. And this is an example, and we can find it here. It says, we're working pairs. Student A looks at photo 1 and 2, and student B at photos 3 and 4. Okay, so we have here those examples. So let's pretend that you guys, well, you are student A. So the question is, who will enjoy these types of holiday? Something that I want to tell you is that sometimes we get confused with our American vocabulary with the in contrast with the British one. Holiday is exactly the same thing as vacations. Okay, we always think in our American language we think that holiday is just like a day off. I don't know, Mother's Day or something. No, but holiday in general is just exactly the same as vacation. So in this question is, who will enjoy this type of holiday, which is who will enjoy these types of vacation, right? And also, the other question is, what are the advantages and disadvantages of these types of, again, holiday, vacation? So don't get confused. So over here, um, in 1 minute, you need to answer student A regarding pictures 1 and 2. You need to answer this question: who will enjoy this type of holiday or vacation? And but before answering this question, you need to compare. So in 1 minute, you can time, you can put your cell phone and time up yourself because that can help you a lot. You can even pause the video for a moment and pause and I mean time yourself for 1 minute. And in 1 minute, you need to say, well, I see that in the first picture, well, these guys are having maybe more fun than the picture number two. Also, picture number two, it's maybe just for children, for family time. Picture number one is if you want some extreme sports, uh, and or you say, well, this one is more dangerous than this one, right? Or just try to compare first, and then answer the question: who will enjoy this type of holiday? So you think, well, definitely. I think that the first picture, teenagers or young people or people that just like to enjoy adventures or extreme sports are the ones that like these type of parts. And the other picture, just have some family time, just to relax, maybe some elderly people. I mean, so all that in 1 minute. You can practice that, and you can also practice it with 3 and 4. Answering this question: what are the advantages and disadvantages of this type of holiday? And also, we compare it first and then answer the question. Okay, so you can work on that. There's also some part of here, some other questions that you can work. So please pause the video and work on this speaking part. Remember, any questions you might have, let us know right away. Thank you. Okay, now let's go very quick to this part. This is listening part 2 of our test. This part we need to be very careful because as you can see here, we have text with different gaps. And what we need to do is we're going to listen to a conversation. In this the example. So you will hear a man called Steve Jackson talking about his trip to the Antarctica. So he said, read these questions 1 to 10, and in pairs, try to predict what words. Well, you can try to predict if you want. But what I really want for you to pay attention on this part is part 2. You will listen, not exactly these words. I mean, you're not going to listen. Steve says that the temperature was usually around. No. I mean, he's just going to just talk and talk and talk, and he's going to talk about certain temperature in his talking. So we need to be very careful. And well, the advantage is that everything's going to be in order, and the exact word that we're looking there, that's what the person is going to tell or to say. So we need to be very careful on this. And my recommendations, our tips are: first of all, okay, read the instructions carefully. Read the title, "Trip to the Antarctica." Antarctica. That's the main topic, and read it. Okay, read this information and try to predict. Okay, definitely. Number one is definitely a number, right? Because we're talking about temperature. Well, so I need to focus on some number. Something that we need to know is that sometimes we might not find the answer number one right away. He might be talking for a little while, and then we're going to find the answer. So be careful not to think that you missed number one because he's talking a lot. No. Just pay attention, and remember they're going to give you like 30 seconds for you to read this information. And every listening part is twice. So you're going to have another opportunity to listen to this video. So little by little, check and see. Please, again, read it all and underline some keywords. Okay, this is a number. Okay, this might be an adjective. Words before and after can definitely help you on that. So remember, you're going to have some time to read it and to underline whatever you need to underline. So let's work on that. Remember, the video or the audio is on the platform. Work on that, and of course, we are also going to send you the answers on the platform. So work on that right now, pause for the moment the video and work on listening part 2. Okay, now that you have finished with that, I want to really focus today on models, and it's something that is very important for us to see. But let me see here. So we're going to just again take out your notebook, take out your pencil, and we're going to see our grammar part. Okay, so let's go right away to our grammar part, and we're going to see today models, which is which models are or talk about obligation, necessity, and permission. Okay, so we're gonna go step by step, and again, please grab your pencil and write all the information that is going to that you might find interesting for this part. Okay, well, we have for strong obligation, we have must and have to and have got to, right? Most of the times, this is an informal way. So we have here present and future and past, right? So we can say must, have to, have got to, or in the past had to, right? So those three we can use it for present and future, and had to we can use it for past. But let's go very quick, one by one, and you will see how interesting it's going to be, because sometimes we just have like a knowledge in a specific or one meaning for each model, but we can see that every type of model has different meaning. So let's go with the first one. Must. Well, must is used to talk about a strong obligation, strong obligations in the present and future that are imposed by the speaker. Okay. So, for example, you must brush your teeth before you go to bed. Okay, so that's an example. Or I must arrange to have my windows clean. It is also used to talk about laws. Drivers must obey traffic signals. Okay. Then have to. Let's go very quick to have to. Says have to or have got to are used to talk about strong obligations in the present and future that are not imposed by the speaker. For example, I've got to do some homework tonight. The teacher says so. Or if in doubt whether to use must or to have to, use have to. Do not use have to, which is incorrect. Um, in other words, let me tell you a little bit the difference between must and have to. Must is something is something like more personal, and if you use must, then also the um, the uh, the speaker, right, might not, or the one that tells you something might not even know that. I mean, will definitely know that you didn't do that, right? So, for example, if a friend of yours tells you, okay, you must uh, wash the dishes, right? Or if your mom or your if you live wherever you live and somebody tells you you must wash the dishes. Well, you if you don't do it, definitely that person is going to know that you didn't do it, and you might get in trouble. But have to is something that we just need to have to do, but maybe it's not like directly from a person that we know. For example, and again, it's mostly like for rules. So you can say, well, we have to you have to do exercises, or you have to drink 3 glasses of water. Well, it's just some instructions that we need to follow, but if we don't do it, maybe the direct person, or it's just for like general instructions to use have to. So I don't know if you can know the difference between must and have to in other words, right? And we also have all of this information that I just read. Also, let's go very quick here with had to, which is talking about the past. So had to is used to talk about past and reported obligations. For example, I had to help on the farm when I was young. We were told we had to get a visa before we left on holiday. So there are also other ways to express obligation, to make someone to do something or to be compulsory. Okay, so in this case, remember, had to is regarding past, right, or reported obligations. Now, weak obligations, right? That is not that we like very strong, okay? So we use should or ought to. For present and future, we use should or ought to. For past, should have done or ought to have done, okay? So let's read this very quick. It says, there's no difference in meaning between should and ought to. So for example, you ought to or should ride home more frequently. In the past, you have done and ought to have done are often used for criticism or regrets because an action didn't happen. So this is the example. We should have bought or ought to have bought your sister a card for her birthday. Okay. So those are, in this case, that person is regretting that they didn't buy that card. Now, we have here can, sorry, let me just have here some technical issues. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. Now it says asking for and giving permission. We use can, could, or may. Okay. So, for example, can is the more usual way of asking for and giving permission. Could is a bit more polite, and may is quite formal. Okay. So that's some information that we need to know. Also, can, may, could I borrow? What is the example? Can, may, or could I borrow your bike? Yes, you can, or yes, you may. Other ways of asking for and giving permission are to allow someone to do, to permit someone to do, or to let someone do. Okay, so that's other ways of asking permission. So we're just dividing these models in different ways. For again, let's just review very quick. We had models, obligation, necessity, and permission, talking about must, strong obligation or have to, then weak obligation, should or ought to, and now for permission, can, could, and may. Okay, now prohibition, right? Prohibition. So for prohibition, we use mustn't or can't. So in the present and future, we use mustn't and can. In the past, was not to or couldn't. Okay, so those are the difference between, in this case, present, future, and past. So these are some examples. Mustn't and can are used when something is forbidden. You mustn't cross the road without looking, right? Elizabeth can't go out this evening. Her father says so. Okay. Other verbs which can be used are to forbid someone to do something, to ban someone from doing something, to not allow someone to do something, to not permit someone to do something, and to not let someone to do something. It is also possible to use an imperative. Don't cycle on the pavement. Okay. So these are the information that we're talking regarding our unit. So very quick here, going to our units, let's work very quick on these models and this practice that we are going to help you here. So let me just go very quick here to our unit, and let's work then on page 26, page 24. So on page 24, we have here models, obligations, and information. So please do all this page, part 1, 2, and 3. And also please do the corpus spot. And so that you can practice a little bit of these models. And again, this is level B2, so that's why we're going step by step and knowing different models. There's going to be some other units. We're going to see some other models or the same models with other meaning. But for now, let's just focus on this meaning. And please write them down, try to memorize them, and also practice them on this page. So let's go right now to that page, and you can pause the video for a moment, and let's work on that right now. Okay, so let's go now, and I need to really explain to you part number 4 of the reading and use of English test. So to be honest with you, this is one of the most difficult parts of the test. and you can even see it here in your book. So part number 4 of the reading and use of English test is going to look something like that. And let me just read the instructions first. It says, complete the second sentence so that it has a similar meaning to the first sentence. Okay, just in case we are on page 25. Okay, page 25, where it says exam spot. Okay, this test or this part of the test, you guys are going to, they're going to, for example, here, let's go here with the first example. You're going to see here a sentence, right? And using this exact same word over here, you need to try to write the same meaning as the first word, okay? And you can even read it in your exam spot. It says, in reading and use of English part 4, remember that, well, there's some, another tip says that a contraction don't or isn't counts as 2 words. There are only 6 sentences in the exam, and there are 2 extra here to give you more practice, okay? But let me give you some tips in general that can help you regarding this part. And remember, you're going to have these in your platform if you want to read it also carefully. So it says, known as word formation, this is one of the hardest parts of the whole exam. It tests your grammar and vocabulary. You are given a sentence and a keyword, so you have to be able to complete the second sentence so that it has the same meaning as the first sentence using 2 to 5 words. 2 to 5 words, it will be in the B2 test. In the C1, it goes all until 6 words, okay? But let's go step by step. So this is the example. It says English food is better than Italian food. So we need to use this keyword as, and they show us this sentence. So Italian food, English food. What I recommend is you can try to cross out the different words. So for example, if we have already Italian food, cross it out. You know, cross out this part, Italian food, because we already have it, right? Italian food. We also have English food, right? So once you cross out this part, also cross out English food, right? And we will just have is better than. So we need to know exactly what is the part that we need to do or write exactly the same as the other part, okay? So we have here as. So using as, we need to say exactly the same phrase as is better than, right? So in this case, since they turn it over, they turn around the sentences, then we need to know or write it down in negative, right? So we need to say Italian food is not, we are using the keyword as over here, okay? So we're using it here, so we're doing perfectly. So it says Italian food is not as good as English food. So we're using exactly the same word, and this and the meaning of this second sentence is exactly the same meaning as the first one. Now, this example is a little bit easy because I just want to explain to you little by little how it works, okay? But it's very, very important for us to be able to see this information and to practice a lot of these sentences, okay? So you can read here on your platform some rules and common mistakes. Also, something that I would like for you to know is that what they recommend, remember that time here is very, very valuable, right? Our time is very valuable in this sentence or in this test. So if you think that you're not going to get the answer in I don't know, maybe in 2 minutes, then go to the next one. Okay, so that's something that Cambridge tells us. If you think that you're not going to do it in 2 minutes, go to the next one. Don't waste time just thinking and thinking about what to write in the first or second or even third part. But also, just to let you know, this part is, in this case, we just wrote this little information, but normally this part is 2 points. So for example, in the one that we did, is not is going to be 1 point, and as good as is going to be a second point, right? So you need to try to at least to get that 1 point at least, right? But That's my recommendation. If you think that you're not going to be able to solve that in less than 2 minutes, go to the next one so that we will be able to, so that you can have the time to finish the test and to do the other parts of the test. Okay, so seeing this information here very quick, uh, we can just try to do this part. I mean, it's very important for you to do part 6, and again, we will be able to send you the answers. And please, I know this can be a little bit boring sometimes, but it's very important for you to finish and to practice part 4 of the of this Cambridge test. There's some vocabulary that you can work, like this part across, add, into, of, and on. I also recommend for you to practice that. And in talking about the exam folder with word formation, we're going to be working that. We're going to have another video just for the exam folder number 2. So please wait for that, because I really want to take the time to help you on this word formation part. But for now, let's just work on this unit number 3. And if you have any questions, please write to me right away, and I'll be more than glad to help you in this matter. So thank you very much one more time, and we will see you then next class.